Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me on my podcast, Swiping Over 40, Online Dating for Mature Women. So all you ladies over 40 years old that are looking for love the first time around, or maybe it's the second or third time around, join in on our podcast as I interview all different types of men from all walks of life who give advice on dating, how to navigate the internet dating process, things that men are looking for. We share stories, looking really forward to sharing all this valuable information with you and helping you find love the first, second, or even third time around. Again, Nurse Mark Forster. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Kathlyn. Thanks for having me again.
You are so welcome. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And Mark, can you tell our listeners, our viewers, a little bit about yourself?
Well, oh my gosh, my favorite subject. I'm a registered nurse. I'm 3/4 of the way through a medical master's in medical cannabis science and therapeutics. So I am a cannabis nurse, and I help people utilize that as a medicine. And I am co-founder of The Green Nurse. And that is we are a group who facilitate medical cards and consultations for people who want to know more about using cannabis as a medicine.
So Mark, before we get going with the dating advice for those mature women, I want to ask you a little bit more about that. So, recently I have come in contact with some people, friends who have been using the CBD for their pain, arthritic pain, hip pain, and they're really experiencing great results. So what do you know about that as far as a treatment for that pain?
It's used very frequently for that particular condition. So if somebody has arthritis and inflammation in their body, CBD specifically is very good at decreasing that inflammation. I mean, there are, 100 and some odd, many more than that, maybe 400 cannabinoids. So here's the scoop. Each one has potential to work on some particular thing within the body, because it's all related to this receptor system called the endocannabinoid system in your body, largest neurotransmitter system. So it just makes sense that the things from the plant work very well in your body. And CBD is one of those that decreases that inflammation associated with arthritis and decreases the pain.
That's awesome. And so at the end of the episode, everybody, if you're watching, we're going to have Mark speak to you as how you can get in touch with him. And Mark, that's what I have heard. It's actually the CBD with just a slight bit of THC. So it doesn't affect your mentation. You're not high or anything, but you just get that pain relief. And I think it's super important because we do have a more mature audience on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And if you're like me or any of us more mature people, we do experience pain, arthritis, whatever it is.
It's just the natural course of things, right?
Absolutely. So at the end of the podcast, Mark will let you know how you can get in touch with him, how you can find out more information and maybe order, some CBD or whatever you might need for your symptoms, for sure. So thank you for that, Mark.
My pleasure.
And again, if you want to, I'm on multiple platforms. One of them is YouTube. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would love, for you to be part of my family here and send me your questions so I can answer them here with the gentleman that we have on this podcast. So again, thank you for tuning in. So Mark, the last time we spoke, I had women that had emailed me questions about dating. Online dating. So I have, and some of them are actually geared towards dating in general. And so we didn't have an opportunity to finish those questions. So what I would like to do first is if you would answer some of these questions. Are you ready?
Sure, I will. Let's do it.
Like you're in the hot seat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let me go from the bottom up this time. Okay, so this is coming from Texas, and this woman is actually, you go girl, 69 years old, and she's doing online dating. And she actually hasn't participated in online dating before until recently. And she also, I'm looking at my phone for my email, if I'm looking down. So she also has some questions because it's all new to her. I mean, being her age.
Yeah.
She said that she actually wrote in here in the email that she was married, had kids, and she's been single for many, many years. And she decided that, yeah, I'm 69. I'm ready to do life with another person. And she has a question, which which is about questions. When did I get this one?
Yeah.
So she wants to know, what do you think about prepared questions? And I'm gonna say, Mark, you and I have had this conversation before. So prepared questions, meaning that she or some other woman may have a list of questions that they want answers to. Probably, I would say, I'm thinking probably on the first date, in order to decide if they want to move forward. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love prepared questions, but you got to weave them into the conversation like they're not prepared questions.
You can't just pull out the list.
Right? It's not that. When you pull out the list at the table and you're saying, could you answer a few questions, Kathlyn? And then start on the list, probably not going to be great. But yeah, if you're intentional and you have questions that you want to have answered, and fair enough, everybody has their list of questions they really want to know over time, right? If you can weave them into the conversation in that first date, that's awesome. I think it's great.
And so so again, that's probably individual to everybody. So what is it that's important to you, and what do you want to know, and how can you ask that in a non-invasive manner? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? You don't want to say, well, how many divorces have you had? How much money did you give away? What are your, what's your 401k? That type of stuff. But, maybe I would say that I'm just thinking that maybe if financial security is important to you, how do you ask that question? Well, me as a woman would not be asking anything even related to that on a first date. I'd be seeing, do we vibe first? Like, is there?
Right. Yeah. I would agree with that.
So what about this? So what about, other questions? They're probably trying, what I could say, being someone who has online dated in the past, things I want to know is, what are your intentions? What are you looking for? What, like, kind of get a little bit, a little bit more substance on the person. Maybe you can't get everything answered in the first date, but basic things like, we talked about this before too, Mark. What's the most recent movie you've seen, or what's your favorite movie and why? Because when someone starts to speak about something that's super non-invasive, it's just about a movie or a song or, a musician, whatever it is. Sometimes I feel like they can answer, they give more depth in the answer, and it tells a little bit about the person, why they like that.
I think that's a good point. So if you have specific questions that you really want to have the answers to, sometimes you can ask other questions, like you say, and just listen to what that other person is saying, and really the question you really have will be answered just by the way they answer whatever the other question was that was asked.
With an ebb and flow conversation. So it's not what do you call it?
Not a job interview.
It's not a job interview, and it's not like you're on the stand, right? Like, basically.
Right, exactly.
You got to balance it out, weave it into the conversation, right? So I would think, but as a man, as a, someone who is, I know you're in a relationship now, and you've done the online thing, you've been successful.
Yeah.
So, which is awesome, and married, and everything now. So ladies are so sorry, he's off the market now. I know.
There is. So I was thinking about that in the run up to, us being here tonight. I was thinking about the fact that, online dating is actually a really, really, really positive thing, because I come from the world of having experienced both, right? So I come from the world of dating before there were online tools, and seriously dating using online tools. And I have to tell you, it's so much better with the online format, because before, you'd go to a bar, you'd go to a restaurant, and you'd have to try to figure out who in the room was single, first of all, or maybe single. Like, it was a lot of work. When you go online dating, right off the bat that person is looking to go out on a date. So you're already ahead of the game, right?
Right.
So another thing that came up for me in that whole idea is, there's 8 billion people on the planet. If you're not meeting many people, your chances of meeting the person that you're going to connect with very well decrease, right? So I guess what I'm saying is, get out there and get busy. Get out and date. Have some fun. It's not about, I think we get into this mindset of, oh my gosh, maybe this is the one. I got to try to make it work. And we don't go out on enough dates to actually meet enough people. It's okay to just go out on a date, right?
I like that, because I will tell you from my experience and my personal experience, all the ladies that I've spoken with, or the majority of them, across the board, women in general like some type of security and stability. So we are looking to see, is this the one? Is this the one? But what that does, and I think this is what you're saying, is it takes kind of the fun out of it. It takes the adventure out, and it also takes the ability to meet the one. So if you start to, is it what you're saying, that if you narrow in on one person off the get-go, that you're shutting yourself off to those billions of people?
Yeah. In my experience was that I would go out on a lot of dates, and some I would say, oh, wow, I'd really like to explore this and go out on a second date. And I would go on a second date. Some people I would date for a few weeks or a month or a couple of months, and then we just move on. And I guess what I'm saying, another thing that what I'm trying to say is, it's okay to go out on dates and then have it not work out. It's okay that it doesn't work out. Like, you don't have to drag the past into this is a failure. It's not. You just dated someone for a period of time, and you're going to move on and date somebody else now.
And that's a great point that you made, because I would say that most of the women that I've worked with, they actually, that is difficult for them. If they do go out on a date and maybe they had some type of feelings or some type of hope in that person, and that person didn't respond to them, meaning they didn't get a follow-up text or follow-up phone call or and ask for a second date, it kind of messes with their psyche.
Yeah.
So, and again,
for guys too. I felt like that when I first got divorced and I started an online date. It was tragic if I didn't get, that text back or whatever, so it's true for guys too.
And it was women. I think a lot of time we forget that there's two sides to this equation, and so there are two people involved. So just as much as you may feel a certain way, there's times probably, you're, maybe feeling the same way, and those feelings are, projected onto the other person, that you don't really have those feelings, and they're feeling the same way. And, we tend to think as women of men as stronger, which, physically most often they are stronger, but what about emotionally? Do you think that emotionally men in this situation trying to find a partner, I mean, some are trying to find a partner, some aren't, but we're talking about those that are. Do you think that they feel like that? Do you think that they feel sometimes insecure or defeated?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're going to be far less likely to talk to anybody about that, though. They'll have those feelings, and then they just won't talk about it.
So what can a woman do if they like somebody? How can they express their feelings without being desperate and invasive? How can they tell and not wanting to chase? A lot of time women just, we're talking about people from our era. So traditionally, it's not like it is with the millennials and those past, but we're talking about more people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? And we are more traditional in our way of dating. So what that means is we have been, it has been ingrained in women that no matter how successful you are, no matter what you have to offer, that we feel that we should be pursued by a man. And so what is the balance there for women? So what I'm asking is, so let's say you go on a date, go on a date, you and I go on a date together, right? We just met online and we go on a date together, and I'm interested in you. And maybe you're interested in me. I don't know, but how am I supposed to reach out? Am I supposed to send a text message? Am I supposed to call? Am I supposed to tell you I had a good time? Or am I supposed to do what was taught traditionally to women in this age range and sit back and wait? What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be very subjective, right? Again, it always goes back to people have different ideas that they've grown up with about how it should be in a relationship and who should pursue who. For me personally, I loved it when I would get a text message after the fact from the woman that I went on the date with, and she said, "Hey, listen, I had a really great time, really looking forward to the next time." That's all she had to say. And that opens up all of the communication for me, because now I know that she had a good time and she's interested. And now I'm free to pursue. Now that's my cue to say, okay, I'm gonna just say, okay, great. I had a great time too. When is that next time gonna be? Like, I'd nail down that second date.
Yeah, so let's say you didn't. Let's say you got busy and you were driving and you got home and you fell asleep and you didn't have a chance to say, let's nail down the next date. And the next morning she texts you, thinking about you in our wonderful date. When can I see you again? Does that start to change what you're feeling inside? Like, oh, okay, that's a little bit much. Or, oh, I love that still.
It's actually, yeah, you know what? That immediately made me feel like, oh man, wow, she's really jumping right in real quick. Not that I don't, but it's just like, do you know what I mean? It feels that way. And maybe that's my pre-programming, being in that same age demographic.
Well, the reason,
like, okay, just tell me you're interested and I'll take it from here, right?
So now
it's that weird dynamic.
Okay, so now she sends you that message. Okay, so now she sent you the one, she had a good time, you're feeling super excited.
Yeah.
You got involved in something, you fell asleep, you wake up and you got another text from her. Okay. And then you say maybe like me too, I look forward to it. Okay. And you're good. Like, you're still status quo. Now you don't reach out because you are busy and you don't have time, you haven't decided what your schedule is or when you can make plans, but it's in maybe you're thinking about it. And the next day there's a text. Good morning. Thinking about you. Good morning, handsome. Good morning. Whatever you might get from a woman. I have no idea. You probably get a variety or a picture. Now she's desperate. She's sending a picture. Like, and I say desperate because honestly, you shouldn't be sending pictures like that. Without, I shouldn't say that. I'm not even gonna go there. We'll talk about that later, but let me just say, let's just start with the text. So now we're on you've texted back once and now we're on like a third text. So the initial, like saying, I had a great time and you're super happy. Now she's texted you again. And now like a day passes. It's like maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon the next day. And she's sending you another text. Now, what is your thought process? Like, what's your body chemistry telling you? Like,
at that point, if I haven't responded back, and it's like the third text, then I'm saying, this is going to be too intense. Like, I can't like engage in this.
So you're out.
Like, already. Yeah, I'm done.
No matter how much you like that person.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's one of the red flags, I guess what you call it. They say, oh, she's not going to understand if I have a time when I can't respond, and then I'm going to have to deal with it. And that's, you know what that is, Kathlyn? It's just past experiences jumping into this one, right?
Right.
And that's, I hate to say it, it's if you can break that, there's possibilities, because somebody might start out like a little bit, needing a little bit more of a response. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if you can not bring, for the guys, if there are any guys listening, if give the benefit of the doubt, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, you never know what's going to be on the other side of that. Just responding.
So what you're saying is, no matter how many boxes she checked, how attracted you were to her, you've kind of lost interest at this point.
Yeah. Because, one text, So yeah, and you know what? I'm guilty of it. I've done it too, where I have texted somebody and they haven't gotten back to me, and I immediately make up a story about how they're just ignoring me and how awful that is, and and then I find out after the fact that their phone dropped in the water and they didn't have it for a day and a half or whatever the story was, but it was completely not what I was thinking. So I'm of the mindset of always trying to say, well, what are the other possibilities? I know this one that I just made up is pretty damn good, and I could blame, her for not responding or whatever. At the end of the day, there are a lot of different possibilities about what's going on, why somebody didn't text you back. I don't have to naturally think it's because they're just not interested or they don't like me. Like I can let go of that. It's not easy because we're emotional and we want to be liked. We want to be loved. Sometimes it's hard.
So what I hear you saying to the ladies is to have patience. You may be completely on their mind. However, their schedules are not allowing them, or they're not quite ready yet, right?
Yeah.
To engage.
That's been some big disappointments, actually, Kathlyn. You're right. You just reminded me when you said that. Big disappointments where I was really super interested in somebody, and then it was like this really weird string of text messages that I wasn't able to respond to as timely as I would like to. But I was really interested. Like I really was super interested, and I would pursue that person. But then that string of text messages just like completely just drains all of the excitement out of it. It's
okay, so are you able to give an example of that stream of text messages? Like if you can remember to the best of your ability how that goes down. You went out, you had a good time. Tell me
about how
what went from I want another date to I don't want to ever hear from you again.
Yeah, I know. I've had that string of text messages.
But let's just let's talk about the most healthy one. Like what is anyone that you want to talk about actually? So just give a couple examples for the ladies. They need to know because the reason that I have this podcast and have you men as experts on it and have my book is to help these ladies navigate something that is somewhat foreign to them. So it's really important. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get, you start right at the beginning. I mean, sometimes, text is probably the least accurate method of communication because there's so much room for misinterpretation, right? If you're talking to somebody, you hear the inflection in their voice, you hear them on the other end, you hear exactly what they say. You may misinterpret what they're saying at the particular time, but text messaging leaves you so much room for misinterpretation. It's really difficult. I would almost say that for me, just a single text saying it was great, and then maybe a follow on if you don't hear from somebody in a day, a follow on that says, hey, would love to catch up again. When do you have time to connect? And then because stop. At that point, and then just stop, because at that point, I know I've done it. I've rolled it out of control because I'm thinking that it's one thing that it's really not. And it's easy when you feel like it's, right. Yeah. So I'd move to try to get it to another voice conversation, like talking live on the phone. I know people like to stay on text these days because it's a safe zone, right? You're safe inside your little phone world, and you can, try to be cute and get your point across. But oh my gosh, it's the least effective method of communication.
So, and the thing is, I'm very natural in the flow of this podcast, and so I have a whole list of questions, but I feel like some of the things that you're talking about, Mark, are very relevant. I don't want to pass them over just to the next question. So
sure, let's
talk about that texting. So everybody's different in regards to texting. I will tell you myself personally, I don't like texting. I like a phone call. But again, there's more investment in a phone call. There's more time. There's a time and a place for text messaging. I say like, what's your address? What time do you want to meet? And so maybe something sweet or flirty or something that you're thinking about someone during the day. But I don't think
Mhm.
it's a forum for like long conversations or getting to know somebody. I personally will shut down. I'll do it a couple times and I'm done. You know, that's me. However, I
Mhm.
understand that a lot of people like text messages, but what I hear you saying is maybe you feel
Yeah.
like people somewhat hide behind text messages. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts as far as that? As a man, do you think a man should reach out and make a phone call? Maybe a couple text messages after the first date. We're talking after or before.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then do you think the woman should be, you know, open to the phone call and there should be more interaction? Like, what are your thoughts on that as a man? Like, what makes you more comfortable and what do you know
I mean,
across the board?
it's the dance. It's just so hard to say which one's going to be right for the right person. And you're right. It does, phone call does require a little bit more of an investment of yourself, right? You're
Mhm,
putting yourself out there.
mhm.
It's one thing if you send a text message and it doesn't get responded to. It's another thing if you make a phone call and get pushed to voicemail. Like, there's it's putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
I guess it comes down to just being able to cultivate being okay with not getting a message back or not getting answered on the phone or not having it work out the way that you thought it would. I mean, thank God some of these relationships that I really wanted to work didn't go anywhere because in retrospect, it would have been terrible.
Yeah.
And, we're really good at creating this illusion that this person that you're with could be the one. Um, that we'll go to great lengths to try to track that down. I guess.
Well, yeah, you know, that's actually kind of um, comforting, I would say, maybe hearing that from
Mm,
a man's perspective, because I feel like with the women that I work with or speak to, a lot of the time that's how they feel. Like, oh, this might be the one, and it's
mhm.
about trying to figure out, like, okay, so what have they done to show that they're the one yet? You know what I mean? Grounding yourself a little bit. But what I hear you saying is that it's really on both sides. Because we're on there mostly for a reason. There are people on there for hookups. Yes. There are people on for friendship. Yes.
Mhm.
There are people on for polyamory. However, we're talking. I think right now we're talking about the more serious dater who's maybe on a paid site, whether they're looking for a
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we get excited like there's so much.
Mhm.
What we have to think about is how many people are weeded through as not a match. Not that there's something wrong with them, but they're
Mhm.
not a match for you or you're not a match for them, and there's so much up and down and uncertainty, and then you find this one person. It's like um I guess it's like a shooting star, or you just see the light in the tunnel or something, like, oh, this is actually, I'm excited, and it's hard to not be excited. So but it sounds like it
Mhm.
comes on both sides, like men feel that way as well, but it's about
Yeah.
taming,
Yeah.
taming
Oh,
that.
yeah, men feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Vulnerable and hoping that it's gonna be the one. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so interesting to me, because I have to say that I've worked with a lot of men and been around a lot of men. Okay. But I actually grew up with all sisters and no brothers. So I didn't get to see that side growing up,
Mhm.
which is always, I feel like every day I learn something about the man, and
Mhm.
how they are in relationships. And, again, through my work, I am and interviewing multiple men and everything. It really helps. And, again, it helps other women. I love it. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. It
So,
is great. It is great.
so Mark, I know,
Mhm.
I think you were limited on time tonight. So I think had about 30 minutes, and normally
Yeah.
we go a little bit longer, right? So I
Yeah.
think that we're going to wrap this episode up, but I am going to interview Mark, and have another interview with Mark shortly. So we're going to get some more information on some of these questions that we have, and I have a ton of them. So thank you, Mark. And again, I told the viewers that you would be able to let them know, how they
Yeah.
can get in touch with you. And again, we talked about your, Nurse Mark, CBD, all those.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a full CBD product line and um high quality product. I spent probably a year or more seeking out the right manufacturers, the right extraction, the right growers, and it's a high quality product, which is important. You need to know what you're putting in your body. And so you can find that at nursemark.co. That's the website to find the CBD product. Again, that's nursemark.co. I'd love to have you try it.
That's awesome, Mark. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, to all you listeners, viewers, depending on what forum you're watching, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You can actually send me messages and I will answer your questions with these men that I have on the show. You can go to my website, which is kathlynheim.com, KATHLYNHEIM.com, and send these questions. And again, I have to speak back 1 second to the CBD. It's worked for multiple people I know that are suffering from chronic pain, arthritis, fibromyalgia, etc. It's been super helpful. So I haven't tried it yet, but I'm super open to trying something like that, as long as it doesn't get me high. But I understand that you can have versions that do not get you high. I don't want to be high.
Non-intoxicating. Yeah. I actually put together a special. So I've got a special running right now. If you go to nursemark.co/stress-free, that's nursemark.co/stress-free. I put together a package of a copy of my book, Absolutely Effing Amazing, Living a Life You Love, and a sample of the CBD oil, the extra strength CBD oil. Those two combined, using what's in the book and the CBD, you can rid stress from your life once and for all.
I love it, Mark. Thank you so much. I'm going to definitely be getting myself a copy.
Thanks.
I'm going to try it. I got pain. I've had back surgery. I'm going to give it a shot. So anybody, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and thank you again for tuning in to today's podcast, Swiping Over 40. If you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe to my podcast channel. And ladies, I'm super excited because I do have a book coming out shortly, and it's titled Dating in a Fast Food World, The Girlfriend's Guide to Internet Dating, She Says, He Says. You're going to love it. It takes into account anything you can imagine that you might encounter while navigating through the online dating process. But not only does it have the input from a woman, it has the input from a man as well. So you'll get the inside scoop. You can also subscribe to my newsletter by going to Kathlyn.com. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you, and may you all find love.